Lick, lick.
Oh, yes. Oh, there's a fluffy. Right, yes, that's enough of that. Hello, welcome to the show. Are you going to sit still or are you going to go down on the floor?
I can take you.
Slikke inte liten fitta.
Go.
Vi har två små fittor. Yes, anyway, welcome to the show. You know the drill. Put a large capital Q in front of your question, then write your question and suffix the whole thing with a question mark, ergo allowing His Majesty Ted, King of Pimbatia, to adequately find the questions and pass them on to Her Majesty Pim, Queen of Pirates, for the displaying thereof and the answering of the questions, and the number of the counting shall be?
5.
3, sir.
Oh.
Oh, yes, 3. Good. Right, so, yes, welcome to Pimbatia Farm. This is where all the Pimbatia farmery happens. Well, not here, in this room. This room actually is a virtual room. It doesn't really exist, for those of you who might be disappointed by that, sorry. It's all virtual reality in here.
Do we exist?
Well, I've done a video on that, and the answer seems to be no. No, we don't. At least if existence is defined as objective, actual physical reality.
Do you exist?
No, she doesn't.
Does her breath exist?
Oh, yes. Yes. Sometimes it's as bad as mine in the morning. Do you exist, though, Pim, Queen of Pirates?
Indeed.
Anyway, all this existential angst should lead us to some questions. I think there's some there, and we can answer those with gay abandon.
We have a very, very good one.
Excellent. We like good questions. Let's have it, shall we?
In the last live session, you said that you disliked all vegan influencers. Shouldn't you have said that you disliked most instead of all, since one of them inspired you to bench press 410 pounds?
Jesus Christ. I can't think of one vegan influencer with whom I have any kind of empathy, or that I can see them as being a decent human being doing a good thing for humanity, because none of them are. Either of those things, either a decent human being or doing anything good for humanity. Yeah. Especially that one. Oh, hi everyone. Yes. Right. So, what's what?
Indeed. What's up, Bottom Pim?
What's up? I played cricket yesterday. Did I mention I hit a 6? I hit a 6 yesterday for the first time in 10 years. It was incredible. Hook shot it was. It was flat as a pancake. It just fired across the rope with almost no height on it. I did roll my wrist on it. I was trying to hit it for 4. It went for 6 anyway. It wasn't my fault. I was just following orders, you see. Just like Mark Zuckerberg. It was not his fault, you see. He was just following orders, you see.
Maybe you should talk about the capital Q.
Yes, indeed. Put a capital Q in front of your question, and then write your question, and then suffix the whole thing with a question mark, please, and thank you. It makes Ted's life so much easier. And God knows Ted needs his life made a bit easier because he has to put up with me. What are you laughing at? You here to help or what? Righto.
I thought we were here to have fun.
Yes, we are. That too. Test, test. Hello, test, test.
Right.
Right, what's next? Vadnasta. No singing.
If you're quiet, I can read it. No? What's your thoughts on using coconut oil, MCT oil, for Alzheimer's? Is it all hogwash, or is there validity to it?
For what reason would that in particular have an effect on Alzheimer's, do you think? Alzheimer's disease tends to be associated with a degeneration in the myelination, among other things, of the neural system. And that's a cholesterol issue more than it's a fat issue. Do you know anything about MCT oil and its use for Alzheimer's? Is there any indication?
I think that since that would increase the ketones, it will give more energy to the brain so that the Alzheimer's patients are better able to have some cognitive function. I think that's...
Sorry, I was reading ahead and I wasn't listening to you.
Good.
Say again?
No.
No repeating?
Listen.
See what it's like?
You should not be reading ahead. That's my job.
All right.
You should answer the questions.
Right.
So that's it.
Yep. I was just reading David YY's incredibly ignorant, arrogant opinion. The thing about opinions, David, is they're just like assholes in that almost everybody has one, and it's almost certainly full of shit. Yours is absolutely full of shit, factually, demonstrably and clearly, and I think you're in the wrong place, son. I think you need to be somewhere else. Perhaps somebody of the moderators might like to help David be somewhere else. Censorship, you see, that's what we do here. When we don't like what people say, we shut them up.
Shut up.
But we're just following orders, you see. It is not our fault.
Okay, so what I said was
Yes.
that MCT oil and coconut oil, well,
Yes.
it's MCT in coconut oil,
Yes.
will increase the amount of ketones, which will give energy to the brain so that the cognitive function probably increases.
Okay. That could be valid. I don't know.
I think we have a super chat.
We like super chats. They keep the lights on.
Thank you very much. Is a vitamin D level of 95 nanograms per milliliter concerning?
No, not necessarily. Depends on a whole bunch of other things. How do you feel? Yaton, Gaton, or however I pronounce it. What is your affect? What are your symptoms? Do you feel bad in any way? If so, what so? I'm not interested in the value of somebody's lab result on anything purely of its own accord. I also want to consider a person's affect, their symptomology, etc. Oh! 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 Oh!
Okay.
It's going to be one of those days.
Oh dear. Should I cut carbs slowly to become carnivore or just stop them instantly?
The first. Absolutely the first and absolutely not the second. Yes, always do a transition when you change your diet markedly from anything to anything else. For you see, you don't want to upset your microbiome, for that will lead you to inflammation and all sorts of potential problematic doings thereafter.
Okay then.
Plus, you will also make Ted very cross. And you don't want that, do you, Ted?
I'm glad that he can shake his head very well.
It's not Ted's fault. He's had a hard life. He's had to put up with me for 53 years nearly.
Yeah, poor Ted.
I know. You've only had to put up with me for how many?
I have no idea. It feels like 100.
Nice.
10 or 11?
Yes. Good.
Something like that.
Well, you don't have to put up with me for any of it. It's all voluntary, mind.
Where are the noise blockers?
The noise blockers. Oh, you mean the Meat Militia issue hearing protection?
Yes.
It's not here right
Shall we
now.
take the next one then?
Yes, let's.
Why is it better to do weight in non-consecutive days?
Because your body needs to recover in between sessions. I'm also an advocate for anyone other than fairly elite hypertrophy athletes that body splits are a complete waste of everything. You don't need to be splitting. You don't need... The thing is, most people that train at the sub-elite level, and actually at the elite level too, to be fair, they tend to vastly overdo the volume and vastly underdo the efficacy, intensity of what they're doing. I advocate for an 11 or 12 exercise, 2 sets per exercise, whole body split every time you go to the gym, and I advocate that that should be every other day, or sometimes you can wait 2 days depending on how things are. Part of the whole point of training is recovering in between trainings. So superimposing a training on a training without recovering fully in between is contraindicated. It is counterproductive, it's a bad idea, and Fluffy agrees. Don't you, Fluff? She's taken to not exercising on consecutive days, or indeed on any fucking day that she can get away with it. She used to be very keen to be involved in everything, and now she comes along if she has to. Otherwise, her new favourite hobby is sleeping upstairs in the sun.
Yes.
Yes, in her dotage. Poor old thing. She's also going deaf, as is the other dog. And it's not an attitudinal thing, they are actually going deaf, it seems. Which I'm told is quite common in small dogs of their age. I don't know, I've never had dogs of that age. Or of that size.
I've had dogs at that age, but haven't gone deaf, so I'm unlucky then.
Yes.
Although they don't seem to have any other health problems, so that's good.
No, that's because they get the appropriate species-specific diet for a dog.
Right. Question.
Yeah.
Really happy with the stem enhance. Is there another zero product to complements it?
Yes. 2 that way or that way, whichever you like. 2 products. There's the stem enhance to which you refer, obviously. That's the flagship product. That's the stem cell release agent. Excellent, very good. And also I suggest that people take Cyactive, which looks like that. That's an anti-inflammatory, which knocks down both LOX and COX pathways without the side effects of the common pharmacological solutions to the same problems, which is great. And here's one called Plasma Flow, which is an enzyme preparation which dissolves fibrin deposits in your capillaries or capillaries, microvasculature if you like, and it allows blood flow to be optimized so that stem cells and other things can get to where they ought to be. Isn't that right?
Capillaries.
Capillaries, your capillaries, you Americans with your capillaries. Yes.
What are your thoughts on cloudy urine on a female on carnivore for 6 months that drinks coffee? Thank you.
Cloudy urine can be a number of things. Oxalate dumping would be my first guess, if I was just going to guess without any other symptomology or doing any testings or looking at anything. If it's bubbly as well, it may or may not be oxalate. It may also be protein leaking into the urine. If there's any concern, if there's any other signs and symptoms of problems of any kind, I would go and have the urine looked at, frankly. If it remains cloudy for more than 3 or 4 days. How's that?
Very good.
You weren't listening, were you? Because you were
Nope.
reading ahead.
Randle cycle.
Yes.
When meat is consumed, how much time before the pathway is activated, and if...
I have no idea what that means. Meat does not activate the Randle cycle, in fact. It's fats and proteins and their interaction that, I guess, make manifest the thing that we refer to excessively parsimoniously as the Randle cycle. By which I really mean its effects, not the thing itself, because it's not even a cycle. It's a collection of various bits of metabolic machinery that work together in a certain way to achieve a certain thing. That being the protection of cells versus too much glucose.
Okay, I just found another one from the same person, so let's go with that one while we're on it.
Yes.
If meat and potatoes are ingested simultaneously in equal amounts, which will win entry into the pathway first, and how much time for the activation to begin?
Okay, well, meat is made up of amino acids, which make up proteins. Meat will have some fat with it. So what I guess you're really asking is, if you eat fat and carbohydrates in equal amounts, which will gain entry first? That depends on what is already happening. Mitochondria prefer, for want of a better term, they don't prefer anything. They have no thought processes of any kind. They just do. It's actually physics, basically. It's inertia. A thing that's doing a thing will continue doing that thing until a force powerful enough to cause it to do something else is exerted, basically. So if a mitochondria is oxidizing mainly carbohydrates, it will continue doing that until enough fat pushes on that to force that balance back the other way. And how much is that depends on the individual person, the individual cells, the individual mitochondria. It's very complex. Can't really give you an answer to it. All I can say is that mixing fat and carbohydrate in your diet as a habit is a bad idea, because that will activate the Randle cycle to some degree, and that will cause inflammation concomitantly, means absolutely, and you can't get away with it. And inflammation, absolutely, if it goes on longer than it ought, which it is doing in most people, is a bad thing, because that is part of the etiology, means cause, of heart disease, most forms of cancer, diabetes type 1 and 2, and other autoimmune dysfunctions as well as diabetes type 1, most forms of dementia, basically all the big killers in Western society. The things that go on 5 out of 6 death certificates as the cause of death, all inflammatory processes. Yes, and the most common thing a person can do to inflame themselves is activate the Randle cycle by eating a mixed macronutrient diet. It's daft, it's dumb, it's not a good idea, you shouldn't do it. And the more people that understand that, the better, and the sooner they understand that, the better. And the more people stop listening to absolute fucking imbeciles like Paul Salad I Don't Know, the better. And other such imbeciles like Lame Norton, for example. And this other turd I've been dealing with this week called Mac something or other, McGowan, Gary McGowan, some Irish MD, with absolutely not the first fucking clue of what he's talking about. Did you know that cholesterol causes heart disease? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that in exercise physiology there are 3 distinct pathways for energy production. Did you know that?
Apparently.
Apparently that's how it is for Gary in Gary's world. I'll be publishing my video responding to Gary's exercise physiology attempt during the week when I can be asked editing it. I've already done the cholesterol one if people want to go and have a look at that. Hilarious it was. This is a boy that looks like he should be doing his homework rather than pretending to be useful to society and pretending he's an expert in any field actually that he's talking about, because he's fucking not. All right, what's next? I'm over it now.
What's next? So is everyone else too.
Probably.
Hi, why does the heart and brain use glucose? Wouldn't it be simpler to use fat like all the other cells instead of being obligated to fabricate it?
Yes, it's an energetic thing. Fat is unable to supply the energetic requirements of neural tissues. The heart absolutely is, by the way. The heart can run on fat or glucose or ketones. So I don't know where you're getting that idea from, but certainly the brain requires glucose, and that's an energetic thing without going into a whole lecture about the exactitudes of it. Yep. Good.
Are there any potential problems with protein shake? Whey protein concentrate 30 grams plus 250 milliliters of milk taken daily.
Yes, there are potential problems with everything in the world. There are no things with no potential problems. One of the potential problems with many forms of whey protein shake is that often they have a bunch of fillers in them, including a lot of carbohydrates often, or other nonsensical rubbish to fill things out. Plus milk, 250 mils of milk. Probably 250 mils of milk a day isn't a problem if that's all the milk you drink. I personally am consuming a bit more milk than that these days because I've taken to consuming a bit of raw goat milk, and I'm enjoying that very much, and not getting fat or seeing any other problems that might be associated with dairy, so there's no reason for me to stop doing that right now. And while I'm enjoying it and getting some nutrition from it, I think I'll continue doing so, actually. But yeah, if there's going to be an issue, it's going to be carbohydrates or other fillers, nonsensical ingredients and things.
And if you ask Harry, he will say that it has more deuterium than normal protein from food would have.
Probably, yep. Good.
And also, it's a processed food, so
sure.
If you take in a lot, it could potentially raise your blood sugar quicker than other protein would do.
Good.
Some people don't see that, but some people probably do.
Lovely.
Lovely. Why is the statement energy cannot be created nor destroyed incorrect?
Red shift. Go and look it up. Red shift. The energy of a photon is determined by its wavelength. When light is emitted from far distant stars and travels across the universe to reach us sometime later, in our view of it, in our inertial frame that is, it is shifted towards the red, i.e. it loses energy. Where is that energy gone? Because from the point of view of the frame of the photon concerned, or the photons concerned, they have taken no time whatever to travel that distance, because for them the distance does not exist, in fact. Neither does time, because photons are actually out with time and space, or space-time if you like. And as such, they should have a fixed energy, and that should be unable to change. It does. There you go. End of discussion. The law of conservation of energy is incorrect, or some other part of our understanding of basic physics is incorrect. Incorrect? Incorrect. That was incorrect language, wasn't it? You weren't listening again.
No, I just heard that was incorrect language.
Yes.
And I can only agree.
Of course you can only agree, because people that disagree with me here are guilty of hate speech, and as such get censored, and also are referred to as bigots ever thereafter.
Bigots.
Yes. But it's not my fault, you see, because I'm just following orders.
Jesus.
Ted is telling me what to do. He always has done, and he always will. I can't do a thing with him. He's quite the taskmaster. And he wants me to censor all the bad people who say things about stuff.
Do you want a follow-up question on the raw goat milk?
Oh, why not? Let's have it.
Let's do it. I saw you have goat's milk. Does it trigger the Randle cycle? How about raw cow's milk?
Okay, this whole idea of triggering the Randle cycle implies that the Randle cycle, A, is a cogent thing, a singular piece of machinery. It's not. It's the effects of several bits of machinery that all interact. And it also seems to imply that this thing is a switch, that you switch it on or off. Does this switch it on or off? No, it's a fader. It's actually a series of faders that all work together in such a way as to maintain your homeostasis. The answer to your question is it depends on A, how much milk you consume, B, what else you consume, and C, what your metabolic rate is for whatever reason over that period of time, i.e. what is the draw on your energy, so-called resources. Okay? Please watch my entire playlist on the Randle cycle. And also, watch my 5 a.m. meetup with Dr. Kiltz on the 4th of February at 5 a.m. Kiltz time.
Good.
I'll be on there talking about the Randle cycle with Dr. Kiltz.
Yes, meanwhile, I shall answer this quick question.
Yes.
Does the dog eat a carnivore diet? Lovely Pim. Yes, she does. I've had her since she was 10 weeks old. She was weaned onto cooked meat and rice, and since I got her, she's been on raw meat, bones and organs.
And no
exclusively,
rice.
no rice.
No.
Except for whatever she's found, apart from that.
The other thing that...
Well, she's not a scavenger, so she's not too bad.
Well, the
other
other
than
thing
grass.
the other thing that both dogs do eat a lot of is shit around here on the farm. They are shit-eating shit-eaters. Nom
Yes.
nom nom.
Nom nom.
Nom nom.
Okay.
Also, who is the absolute champion sheep
for
wrangler?
fuck's sake.
Who is the champion sheep wrangler here?
This week it's me, apparently.
Yes, good. We lost 11 sheep down the back of our property that escaped from an ineffective fencing system. One of the things you learn about in farming when you're not that experienced. One of the things we've learned about sheeps, especially these particular sheeps, is they couldn't give a rip-roaring fuck about 7,000 volts. They just walked straight through it. No problems. Ha ha ha. Anyway, so it took us, over a week to actually finally wrangle all these sheep back down to a paddock that actually can contain sheep because it has sheep netting. I caught 4 of them and wrangled 4 of them back, and I thought I was just the bee's knees. Pim got 7 of them yesterday. So she wins.
Very good.
And now we have all 17 sheep where they ought to be.
Yes.
Yes.
Shall we do the next question?
Why not?
Salutations.
Yes.
My name is Bill Arsgeschicht.
Okie
I
dokie.
can't say it. Recently, my farts, even silent ones, have been quite smelly, also pooping. Is this due to diet?
Well, it depends. What is your diet? What else is going on? That's certainly not enough information to be going on with.
Try to change your diet and see if it changes your fart smell.
Yes, and I think that's probably a made-up name.
Yes, probably.
Yes.
However, if the question is serious, then and you are eating a good diet and it's just happened out of nowhere, maybe there is some, what's it called? Imbalance?
Yes.
Or something going on with your gut bacteria.
Yes.
I've heard dermatologists and health experts say that getting a natural tan from sensible sunlight exposure permanently damages the skin cells and that tanning itself is harmful. Is that true?
I don't personally believe so, no. That is my personal opinion on that. I am not a dermatologist. Tell you what, let's all ask Dr. Abs if he shows up today, what he thinks about that.
Yeah.
Dr. Abs might be here. He's a dermatologist. We should ask him.
Whereas I do believe that if you are exposed to the sun a lot all the time, you might get some wrinkling and shit over time, but sensible sunlight exposure, adapt it.
Yes, good.
I think it's the opposite. Probably good for you. How to maximize hypertrophy myofibrillar. I heard that you should do eccentric exercises once a week for it.
You should do eccentric exercises every single time you do a repetition and you have completed the concentric phase, because the eccentric phase is what follows that. So yes, if you mean should you do big negatives, are they effective? Yes. If you have the right kit and or the right spotting crew to do big negatives, yes, that's a good plan. Once a week, depends on whether you mean the eccentric phase of every single lift or whether you do mean big negatives, which are more weight again. completed in a certain way for safety and whatever, requiring specialised kit or a really good crew of spotters. Okay? Very good.
Right.
Vadnasta, min prinsessa.
Have you looked into any of the studies showing a vegan diet may increase the risk of brain shrinkage? I briefly saw Chafee cover this topic.
I have not. However, here are some basic comments about studies. There are no studies available anywhere in the literature that can inform any given person on their risk of anything as that relates to anything else in the health field or the nutrition field whatsoever. None. The word risk is completely inappropriate. It's a word that has been misappropriated and bastardized by people working in that industry whose primary concern actually is feathering their own nest and making it out like what they are doing is A, scientific, it fucking isn't, and B, of value to anybody, it fucking isn't. These are charlatans, anti-scientists, and crackpots of the highest order. So let's get rid of this word risk from our lexicon, shall we? If you mean, is there a study purporting to show that in a population of people who report being vegan and another population of people who report not being, do the vegans have smaller brains? Is there an incidence of smaller brain capacity? Well, the inference is that there may be, which wouldn't surprise me if it were correct. However, I think it's tenuous at best and probably not really worth our attention much, other than as something that we can poke in their faces to annoy them, because it's pretty easy to wind up a vegan, isn't it? Really.
Maybe because of the smaller brain size.
Yes.
Okay then.
Right. Vadnasta.
Is it regular intercourse recommended to maximize a person's well-being?
Oh, in my mind, yes.
What a carnivore question.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
Then why does Tid prefer to nod than to shake his head?
Well, Tid is very opinionated. For those that are unsure as to Tid's opinionatedness, go to the X platform and do a search on @HRH_Ted, T-E-D. He has things to say about all sorts of things. I can't do a thing with him. I keep telling him to tone it down, but he's quite vociferous over there. Yes.
Give the stream a thumbs up.
Yes, do give the stream a thumbs up.
Like that.
Yes.
You know, it's a little thing there.
Don't forget to share it to your social media feeds as well and suggest to people that this is a hoot and folks should come and do... It's a hoot. And they should come and do Pimbatia live streams with us and learn about carnivore and stuff.
When we get volunteers here, they can do the live stream instead of me.
Yeah. Fine. If we get someone that's...
Do you want to be on the live stream?
Yes, if you want A, to help us out around the farm, you absolutely can by coming to visit us. All you need to do is send me an email and Ted will decide whether you should come or not. We'll have a chat about it beforehand and you can ask us any questions and we can ask you any questions and stuff. We're looking for people to come and stay with us for a few weeks to a month or whatever, to do work around the place part-time. You'll obviously want to do some other things while you're around because it's a beautiful part of the world here with much to do outside of the farm. But there's also much to do on the farm, so come and do that. And some of those tasks might include appearing live in this room on, well, this virtual room that doesn't really exist, on this live stream, which absolutely does exist, whether you like that or not. Paul Salad, I don't know, and Lame Norton. Yes, I do exist. Yes, my academic career also does exist. It was a thing. It really did happen. And the fact that you're unable to trace that is not my problem. Actually, that's the way I like it. I set that up on purpose because I want to be a bit incognito in terms of that sort of stuff, because who wants to dox themselves? Other than Kevin Bass, who is an imbecile and did exactly that. The reason Kevin Bass said that he didn't want to continue his series of debates with me, despite the actual real reason, which was I handed him his absolute ass without any sweat being broken at all, and made him look a fool in the first one. And then his excuse was, no, he didn't want to be doxed because I have a history of doxing people, apparently.
Do you?
Apparently, according to Richard Burgess, so it must be true. And of course, everything Richard Burgess says is true because he can bench press 415 pounds, you see. And also it's true because he says so, even though it's not. But Kevin Bass, then I said to him, I teased him a bit and I said, Kevin, you don't even have a PhD, knowing full well that he actually does hold one of those. And what did he do? He sent me a copy of his PhD, telling me exactly where he got it from, when he got it from, etc. And there was enough information there for me to absolutely dox the hell out of him if I wanted to. So he doxed himself. You turd, Kevin Bass. You really are a complete turd, basically. There's no other way to put it. And a fool, an imbecile. Kevin, by the way, was the bloke who was in the final stages of doing his MD qualification, and they tossed him out. I don't think actually justifiably myself, but that's for another day. Anyway, Kevin Bass, PhD, come back to the table, son. We still have more discussions to have about how wrong you were about cholesterol, don't we, son? And perhaps next time you might refrain from doxing yourself and perhaps falsely accusing me of doing the same, because I've never doxed anybody in my life. Actually, why would I? What's next?
When grass touches the fence, it lessens the effect of the electric fence.
This is true. This is correct, yes, absolutely.
However, we have measured the fence after it's grounded with the grass.
Yes.
And they still go through that.
That's right.
Sort of.
Yes. They're also quite woolly. I think that insulates them a bit. So long as they can get their nose and head underneath a poly tape and run it across their back and just walk straight through it, I think they're quite happy with that. They've also gone through the actual permanent wire fence because it's not appropriate for sheeps. It's not set up for sheeps. Something we learned. We thought it would be okay because we thought the 7,000 volts up their jumper might stop them. Nope, they couldn't give a flying fuck. Straight through they went. Is that the best you've got? They said. Arrogant pricks.
Well, we caught one of them getting stinged on her leg, and then she went through the next one.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. Let's do it again. Right, what's next?
I can only get steaks that have been aged for 28 days. Is this a problem?
Depends. Do you have a problem with that? Do you have, I don't know, histamine intolerance at all? I don't know. Is there any negative affect in your life? Are you sensing that there's any problem with aged meat?
Most people are fine with it.
Yes, I am. Most meat that you buy is aged. At least that long.
Do you think that the low vitamin A content of your diet may be the secret ingredient to its effectiveness?
No, I don't think that at all. I've seen no evidence to sway me that that is likely to be the issue.
Are there particular weight training exercises that you would not recommend?
Yes, there are several. One is the barbell bench press. I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole. I wouldn't go anywhere near doing a barbell bench press. And the other one I would not do is...
Not even 410 pounds?
No, not even 410 pounds. No.
Okay.
And you're here to help, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other one I would not recommend is the leg press machine. If that leg press machine does not have a lockout at the top, which you would set so that when you push the thing up as far as it will go and it locks at the top, that your knees are still slightly bent. In other words, it should disallow you from locking your knees. If it doesn't, I wouldn't go anywhere near that. You might lose both your legs.
Or you can just not fucking lock your knees.
Yeah, but it's easy to do when you really push, and it can happen. And fold your knees fold backwards underneath. It's really messy. You don't want to be anywhere near that.
Okay then. Will there be a way to buying food such as meat and eggs and dairy from the Pimbatia?
Well, in the current situation, there are legal ramifications around what we can and can't do here in the actual nation of New Zealand, where we are. Despite the fact that we claim to be an independent sovereign nation, that's just a bit of a laugh, really. We're not actually at this stage yet. We haven't been recognised as such. For you see, not enough of you have come here to join the militia so that we can defend our borders and repel the very, very effective New Zealand Defence Force of 2,000, I think it is, deployable soldiers with no kit to speak of.
The thing is that you're not allowed to sell meat unless it has gone through a certified abattoir.
Yes.
And we're not doing that.
No.
Like, there's no money in it. It would cost us money probably, or we would have to sell the meat for twice the price that you would have to sell it for in the supermarket.
Basically, it's set up so the small farmer can't do that.
Eggs,
yes,
possible, if we have enough.
Goat's milk, if we have enough of that.
No, not legal either.
If we pasteurise it, or we get it pasteurised, either or.
Well, you need to pass lots of certificates and tests and clean facilities and procedures.
Basically,
no. However, if you live on the farm, if you work here, do anything, you can drink as much as you like, completely legally. And you can also eat our meat legally.
Yes, you can
But
come
not-
here and eat my
But
meat.
you're not allowed to give it away or sell it. But if you do some work on the farm, then you are allowed to legally eat it because you have been taking care of the animal, even if it was slaughtered before you got here.
I don't know about you, but Ted and I are both keen on having our meat eaten.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Just to destroy all the small farming opportunities. Has nothing to do with actual health or
You're not left-wing, are you?
rationality. I am nothing. I am me.
You're not left-wing. You must be left-wing because you're ignoring things you don't like. That's a left-wing thing to do.
Such as you. I have double jaw surgery coming up and will be getting a liquid diet for the forbidden nutrient for about a month, knowing hospital food. Okay.
You have two jaws?
Is that a question?
That's not a question. No.
Stop putting Q's in front of non-questions
Yes.
because we can't answer them.
No.
I like to cook on fire.
We do too.
Is it fine if my meat is somewhat burnt when I consume it?
So long as you're not doing that every single day of your life, sure.
Yeah.
In the summer, we tend, on average, to barbecue a couple of times a month, maybe or less.
I haven't done that this year.
We haven't. We've been so busy with the farm, even though we're now in a situation, where we absolutely could do much more barbecuing. The other thing is, it's quite a faff to set up the barbecue and do the barbecue because we do it using actual fire.
Actual fire.
Yes, rather than gas or anything like that. Even though we've got gas here and we could get a gas barbecue, but whatever.
Doesn't taste nice.
No, Pim prefers the actual natural cook it over a fire thing. I do too. And we also like to do our own smoking a bit. But it would be much more likely that we would set up the barbecue more often if some of you would come here and be Pimbatians for a bit.
Yes.
Yes. The only thing is you will be required, well not required, but we would like it if you were agreeable to appearing on camera while you're here, and you'll probably be asked to wear a uniform at various points to be on camera. It'll be hilarious. You'll love it. And you may also end up on the live stream as a co-host to give Pim a break, because it's hard work dealing with Ted, isn't it?
And cleaning duck poo off the porch.
Yes. Get the water blaster onto that porch to get that duck shit off it.
Jesus,
I know.
those fucking ducks.
Yes.
No.
Perhaps we should just eat the bastards.
I haven't read that one.
Right.
Should I rescale carbs back in to avoid the same kind of shock as you referred to when going off carbs?
Depends on how long ago you hammered over as to whether you should do that or not. That's an individual question. To give you an individual answer, you're going to have to sit down and talk to me for an hour or so in a consultancy, really.
That's a consultancy question.
It is. That's a consultancy question. Good.
Do you agree with raw meat or do you still overcook your beef?
I don't agree or disagree with it. It is a thing. And a lot of people have a preference for that, and I have no problem with those people having that preference if they want to. I am now more, as time has gone on, I've become more and more okay with less and less cooked meat from time to time. I'm still not at the level where I would hoe into raw meat, usually. But yes, my horizons have expanded, and they will probably continue to expand over time. Who knows?
Good.
Good-o. We have 3 questions. You can tell it says QQQ. Just one Q will do it.
I have a mentally challenging home office job from 5 to 11 o'clock.
Yep.
I currently eat 2 MAD at 4 and midnight.
Yes.
I'd like to switch to OMAD, but I'm unsure when to eat my one meal.
Whenever you like, it makes no difference to me. Or you, probably, really. There are people that think timing of meals is important. I'm not one of them.
I would probably eat it at 4 then, because you probably want to sleep, and you usually don't get very good sleep when you are digesting.
Okay. Some people will tell you the opposite. They'll tell you that,
Not an OMAD meal.
perhaps.
A snack maybe.
Yeah.
Not an OMAD meal.
Some people will tell you that eating makes you feel tired and helps you sleep. So play around.
I'm talking
N
about
equals 1.
sleep quality though.
Sure. Play around. N equals 1.
Let's see.
Yes.
There. Good day or night, everyone.
Yes.
What fat protein ratio do you two do? How much kilo of food per meal? Meal at what time? Fasting how often? And how many hours per fast?
Okay, it's 1 meal a day is the usual rule of thumb
For you?
for me. It's roughly give or take 2 grams of protein per kilo of lean body mass, or non-fat mass, if you like. I don't count ratios, I don't count anything. I eat to satiety, and I listen to my body in terms of what it needs in terms of fats and proteins. And sometimes my body tells me it wants carbohydrates or alcohol or any other kind of nonsense as well. And sometimes I listen to my body and give it those things.
I think that's the brain, not the body.
And sometimes I don't listen to those things. Sometimes I abstain from doing those things because, whatever. I'm human as well, is what I'm saying.
Yes, I do not count the ratios either. And I don't eat kilos of food per meal. What time do I eat? Well, I usually have egg coffee, not every day, but in the morning if I do, which will be around 6:30 probably. Then we have dinner much later than I used to, and I might have a snack of something.
A sneak?
Midday. Yes. Like a goat cream cheese or something.
That's an accident.
And then we have dinner anytime between 4 and 7 right now. Just whenever we have time.
It also depends what's happening around the farm, what work's going on, or whether it's an office day for me or a farm day, and all sorts of things.
Yes, we don't really have set meal times. Right. Can you discuss how nicotine and caffeine influence cortisol levels both acutely and chronically, and the potential broader health implications of chronically elevated cortisol?
Not really on the first part, although I believe that there is both an acute and chronic elevation of cortisol levels in response to the intake of those things. The potential broader health implications is a very loose question. And at the end of the day, I think one of the primary issues is that people consider cortisol to be a stress hormone, and therefore it's a bad thing universally, irrespective of the cause of the elevated cortisol. Not so. Neither is it a stress hormone, it is just a hormone with a specific role to play in maintaining homeostasis at large. And sometimes elevated cortisol is a good thing when it needs to be elevated. Chronically elevated cortisol is often associated with other issues, but not necessarily the cause of those issues, if that makes sense. And even if it doesn't make sense, it's still so. Hope that helps.
Scott says, we had the same problem with our sheep.
Yeah.
Did you also have arrogant pricked sheep?
Yes, arrogant pricks. They're for the pot, those ones.
Well, all of them?
Yes, eat them. Well, at some point.
Yeah.
Yes, at some point they all are, but we have 17 sheep. We're not going to eat all of those, not in a year. What we're going to do, though, is breed them so we get lambs, and then we can sell lambs. Because you can do that, apparently. You just can't sell
you can
meat.
sell live animals.
Yeah. Which also absolves us of the guilt of having to kill the lambs to eat them ourselves. We're not doing that. We're selling them to somebody else.
To kill them. Excellent.
Oh, we're not stipulating what they can do with them, because they won't be our lambs after that. And we're absolved. You're going to have trouble killing the ducks, though, aren't you?
The ducks more than the lambs.
Yeah.
Or the sheeps.
The ducks are funny pricks. They're so cool. But anyway, they're also for the pot at some point.
Oh.
The ones that don't lay us eggs.
Is a home gym with dumbbells and a bench sufficient? Is there any equipment you would recommend adding?
You can, if you know what you're doing, have an effective exercise program, depending on what your goals are, with no equipment of any kind, other than what's normally around any given person's house usually. So the answer is maybe, depends what you want to achieve.
Okie dokie.
Yep.
Can I consume magic mushrooms once a week for antidepressing propensities?
I'm told that microdosing of certain things can have quite the effect on that. I'm not an expert in that field.
Yes. And, like, the amount that you will be eating is so small if you do that, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. I myself have actually never consumed any such things ever. So.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe.
I'm not sure what would happen if you did.
Who can imagine me on the mushies?
Fuck. I would have to lock you in a padded room.
Yes.
Why is it not recommended to take vitamin D3 supplements?
Because they're usually presented in oils. Such oils are usually subject to rancidity and very, very dangerous primary and secondary oxidation products. Not good. Vitamin D3 is best obtained by exposing your skin to sunlight.
What about liposomal D3 maybe?
Depends. Very much depends. It might still have rancidity issues. The liposomes may not fully protect. And there is no safe level for things like aldehydes, as you well know, young lady.
Yeah, but it's also a risk with, let's say you live in the northern parts of Sweden.
Yes. Or fucking Siberia.
You
or
not,
something.
yeah, you do not get enough vitamin D during summer,
Right.
even if you try,
Yes.
for example.
Right. In which case, people that absolutely do need to supplement should be very careful about where they get their supplement from and in what form it is. And if you can get one that's not presented in seed oil, that'd be awesome.
How about using light to get more D3 in the winter?
Yes. Okay. Fine.
Good idea?
Depends on what kind of light and the source of it and its color spectrum, etc., and the time of day that you're doing that.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Do you still voluntarily engage the Randle cycle by drinking cider?
Cider, I haven't had any cider in, oh God, well over a year. The last time I drank some alcohol was yesterday after cricket. Did I mention I hit a 6 yesterday? That was a beauty. It really was.
But not cider.
No, not cider. It was beer, and then there was ginger beer. Alcoholic ginger beer, which was quite nice too, for a change from the beer.
Beer.
Beer. Not the bear, beer.
The burr.
The bear had no beer. No beer for the bear.
Alright, next one.
The bear's hers over there.
I have grounding sheets for my bed that I plug into an outlet. How do I test to see if the sheets are properly grounded? I don't have the option to use a stake in the ground outside.
Right, get a digital multimeter. Get a digital multimeter. Place the negative pin, the black one, on the sheet. Place the positive on yourself. The voltage of you should be very close to zero. It won't be absolutely zero, but it should be close to zero. If it's not, it isn't working very well. Try that.
My bad for heart and glucose. Guess I mixed up stuff so the 200 to 300 gram of glucose made by the liver is for brain only?
No. Mostly it's used by the brain, but it's not only for the brain. For example, if you start doing exercise and your muscles, ergo, will start to draw down blood glucose in order to subserve the need to resynthesize glycogen intra-twitch. And that will have an effect on your blood glucose until your body responds to that by producing more of it to try and maintain the homeostatic set point of glucose concentration in the blood.
Okay. Lamb brains a couple of times a week, okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
fine.
Eat OMAD before or after my 6 hours of home office risk analysis job, afternoon, evening.
Risk analysis, you say.
Is this the same person that asked?
See, once again, that is not a question. Do you see how that's not a question? There is no question there. There's no question mark on the end of it. There's nothing in there that could be answered with an answer to your question. Please send us questions.
Well, I think he wants to know if it's best to eat OMAD before or after his 6 hours of home office job.
I don't think it makes any difference. But Pim says she thinks you should do it at 4 rather than at 12.
If it's the same person.
Right.
I read the bullshit consensus article of European Atherosclerosis Society. It says LDL-C in blood test is actually the amount of cholesterol in LDL particles. Watched almost all your videos, sir. But
Yes.
there's no continuation. But
There's a limit to how many characters you can put in a comment without paying.
I see.
So maybe you should pay a super chat to put more characters in so that we can actually get what it is you're saying. And yes, that paper is bullshit. It's complete bullshit. It's an opinion piece. It's not science. It's the most compromised piece of garbage I've ever seen in terms of conflict of interest. It's beyond laughable. Yes.
What's something that is beyond laughable?
Not even funny. Not even amusing anymore. It's so bad,
I see.
I guess.
How often should I do short bursts of maximum intensity, bike or rowing, for example? Is there a benefit?
3 or 4 times a week, a session of 45 minutes, give or take, total session time. You'll probably be working at a work to rest ratio of 1 to 5 during that if your intensity is up to it. That's what I would do for most people under most circumstances. It really depends on your goals though. If you want an answer tailored to your individual needs, you'll need to pick yourself up a consultancy with me. JD, good to see you. Thanks for the
Super chat.
Australian £1 squids.
Can dairy fat such as cream and butter and its derivatives cause excess eating and therefore fat gain? I know there is a school of thought that excess carnivore foods won't lead to weight gain.
Dairy such as cream and butter is not the kind of dairy that's likely to cause any overeating, if anything is going to. If anything is going to cause overeating on dairy, it's going to be those forms of dairy which contain sugar to a meaningful amount. It is very unlikely that the person will overeat on fat, because fat has a very, very strong satiety signaling effect, and it will stop you, mostly. Unless your metabolism is so deranged from so many years of abuse that it no longer works appropriately, in which case you should pick up a consultancy with me, and I'll help you fix it. That's what I do, you see, I fix things.
Yeah, if you're concerned and you think that it applies to you, I would just cut dairy out for a while, see if it changes your appetite. It's the easiest way of doing it, because not everyone will react the same way.
Yes.
It's Pimbatia, but it's Timbatia on the North and South Island.
Well, it can't be on both, can it?
No.
Unless we are a huge territory across the channel. The sovereign nation of Pimbatia, with a P, Pimbatia, is in the Tasman region, which is in the South Island of New Zealand. Yes.
Ooh. I'm sick of sitting in this chair.
Just chirp.
I would love to visit, but I checked the flight prices, £1,700.
Well, it's quite expensive to come from the UK, yes.
Yeah.
It's a long way.
I've heard you say before that the worst thing we did as humans in terms of nutrition was including seed oils in our diet. Are those oils worse than sugar for our health?
Yes, absolutely and unequivocally in my mind, in my professional opinion, yes, without any question.
Are you guys going to keep old broken cars and tractors on the farm like proper rednecks?
Going to? Are we going to do that?
We are already doing
Yes,
that.
welcome to the future. Yes, we have some broken cars. Well,
Nah,
not
really.
actually broken, they still run. We've got one that still needs to be certified as safe for road use, because it's been out of use for a while and we haven't done that. But it'll be fine, because it always passes, even though it feels like it's going to fall to bits when you drive it. And we have 2 other vehicles. And we have a tractor called Trevor, who has a sore foot at the moment, a poorly front tyre. It's actually the valve stem that's faulty and it needs replacing, but I haven't got around to it yet. What else do we have? We have bits of rusty old pull-it-behind-your-tractor things lying around. They're all museum pieces, mind, these things. Yeah, it's good fun.
Good fun. Thoughts on eating 10 to 15 raw eggs per day?
Well, to provide any useful thoughts on that, we would need to know much more about your situation, what else you're eating, what you're doing in your life, etc. There's no way we can comment on that with any sense whatsoever. Thanks for your comment.
Could be completely okay.
Yeah, or not. What's next?
I wired a wire from my electricity output onto my bed to ground myself, but a friend said it's unsafe. It's a metal bed and I just put a wire from the outlet onto it. Is this good?
Which outlet? There are 3 pins in a 3-pin electrical socket. Only one of them is safe to use for grounding. It's the ground pin. The other 2, absolutely not. Goodness gracious.
What's wrong with the barbell bench?
Well, it's double closed in terms of the activity, and it places immense pressure on the anterior deltoids and is associated with a huge number of quite distressing, quite serious shoulder injuries. It's really, really not a good exercise at all. It's what's called a double closed kinetic chain.
Is eyelid surgery contraindicated?
For what bloody purpose, for God's sake? Fuck is wrong with you people?
Okay, for fat adaptation, I've heard that your body may need more than a year to occur
Yep.
when significantly dropping carbs.
Yep.
How does the fat adaptation process correlate with the Randle cycle?
Well, the Randle cycle is part of it, but the Randle cycle is a thing that is relevant throughout the lifespan of people. It's a thing that exists. It's an actual set of bits of metabolic machinery, for want of a better word, which are there, will remain there, and will do what they're supposed to do at any given time, depending on what you are doing at that time. So I'm not sure of what the relevance is. Fat adaptation is more about growing the right enzymes to enable you to derive energy from fat more effectively, and to help with the down-regulation on sugar pushing its way through, which is part of the Randle cycle, but sure. All right, what's next?
What do you personally use to barbecue meat? Charcoal, wood, etc.?
Wood and charcoal from the last lot.
Yeah, we used to have charcoal, but we ran out, and now we just use wood because we have it.
Yeah, and obviously when we finish barbecuing, often there's a bit left, and that's the charcoal for the next time as well.
Is it allowed to leave Pimbatia if I were to join, or is there a curfew after work?
We're just like the Hotel California. You can check out any time you like. Yes, absolutely. You can come and go as you please while you're here. In fact, we even have one of those vehicles that we were just talking about that people that are here can use to go and do things around the region if they want to. We're not going to be employing people here. We're not going to be setting hours of work. What we are going to be saying is, we think you should probably give us X number of hours per week. We think that would be fair. And how you actually do that, or what times of day you do that, is probably going to be up to you pretty much. In concert with, there are one or two things that we will need to help with, supervise, whatever, depending on all sorts of things, including the age, stage and skills of the people that are here and all sorts of other stuff. Because we're going to be very responsible and make sure everyone's wearing the right personal protective equipment and doing the right things and, you know, all of that. We don't want anyone injured or worse while we're here. That would be terrible.
Good.
Good.
Do you need to consume bone broth or not for glycine methionine balance? Same for calcium phosphorus if not consuming dairy.
The answer is not.
Good. Can salt be causing dryness of my scalp and face? I've noticed that after consuming bone broth, snake juice or salted eggs, my skin becomes dry, and not adding salt to eggs seemed to help.
Well, there's your answer then. N equals 1 for you. It would seem to be an association. If it's predictable and holds every time, then maybe it does for you.
Eggs without salt must be horrible.
Yes.
Personal opinion.
That's, I just like arseholes, mind.
Is there a benefit to not consuming anything 2 days a week?
Possibly. It depends on your situation.
Do you need to consume dairy or bone broth for
That sounds familiar.
Why do you post that again?
Yeah, don't do
Stop
that.
double posting, especially when it's
Yeah, don't do that.
5 fucking comments in between.
It pisses Pim off, and
Yeah.
Ted gets very cross as well.
Yeah. I started carnivore without transitioning and feeling like crap. Do I add back vegetables and then Have we had this kind of before?
We've
but
had
in
this kind of
different-
question. It depends on your situation and how long ago this all happened, what's going on, etc. You'll need to consult with me so I can help you unpick it.
Hey Bart, Pim and Bart, hope you are having a fucking good day. My question is whether or not high LDL levels and consumption of seed oil is something to be wary about or not.
The second absolutely is. You should not consume any seed oils whatsoever as long as your ass points to the ground. None at all if you can possibly achieve it. The first one, absolutely not. Under any circumstances, no. LDL is not something to be concerned about, no. Seed oils, yes. Can we charge double for 2 questions in one? Right, send us double as amount that you've already sent us.
Many people write the same fucking questions.
You don't
today. Stop
fucking
doing
do
it.
that.
Is E equals mc squared the right formula for energy conservation, or would this not apply to this calories in, calories out stuff?
No, that's not the right formula for energy conservation. The formula, or the mathematical proof, so-called, of the law of conservation of energy was actually proposed by one Emily Noether, who was quite an attractive-looking young lady in her time, way back in 18, whatever it was, and also, one of the pioneers in terms of female mathematicians. Emily Noether, Noether, I think it is. Go and look her up. And if you want to know what the mathematical proof of energy of conservation was that she proposed, and how that fits in with the laws of symmetry in physics, that's where you would go for that information. E=mc² was not directly proposed actually by Einstein. It was taken from something Einstein wrote in a different form. Einstein actually never said or suggested E=mc², but it's his theory, and that's the one that shows that energy and mass are in fact the same thing in different forms. Okay, I'm done.
Still marking questions.
Questions, roly-poly, no singing.
We babies only understand carnivore as a short-term matter. Is this a lifelong diet?
We babies? Are you a baby? You're quite articulate if you are a baby. We babies only understand carnivore as a short-term matter. Is it? Yes, of course it is. Human beings are carnivores. We don't stop being carnivores suddenly at some point for some random reason. Yeah.
Okie dokie.
Yep.
Do you believe there is a certain amount of water a person should drink per day? It seems as I have become more fat adapted, my thirst has decreased. Thank you both.
Well, that's because fat oxidation is associated with quite a lot of production of metabolic water. I think that the amount of water you should consume is dictated by this funny old thing you have called thirst. It tells you when you should drink and when your thirst is slaked, satiated, if you like.
Okay.
Okay. Faden min prinsessa.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. There.
Ah.
When's the next reaction vid? Watching you tear sugary salad, a new one, is always priceless.
I have a couple that I've already recorded, which is being worked on for next week. One is a response to Mike the Turd, responding to something Bella said in his typically offensive, typically arrogant, and typically erroneous, incorrect fashion. Not a single thing that Mike has to say is A, worth hearing, or B, correct, so I've done that. And I've done another response to this Irish doctor turd called Gary McGowan, who thinks he's an expert in exercise physiology, which he isn't, as well as the one I did on him, which I've already published, where he states that he believes himself to be an expert in cardiovascular pathophysiology, and he isn't that either. So that's what's coming up, and then I'll record other things as and when during the week as well. And then when my editor gets back from his holiday, I think he's back now, there'll be more things happening more rapidly. Well, perhaps after I've paid his bill.
Perhaps.
Until then, if I was him, I probably wouldn't do too much more until I've paid my bill.
Could aldehyde dehydrogenase or other enzymes neutralize the aldehydes present in small amounts of oil?
Potentially. Depends on how many aldehydes are present and how much of that enzyme your body has available.
I have rosacea in my cheeks. Any tips for it?
5 health hacks. Look at my video called 5 health hacks that people should do, and go and do all 5.
What makes hydrogenated vegetable oils even worse than the non-hydrogenated ones?
Because at the end of the day, the process of the hydrogenation damages the molecule even more so, to the point where there is vastly more inflammation and vastly more likelihood of these damaged fatty acids being included in things like membranes and whatever else.
Where am I?
I don't know.
What's your take on donating plasma?
For what reason? And all good if you're doing it for philanthropic purposes.
Yeah.
What kind of a question is that?
Is salt a type of rock?
Salt is rock. If you eat cooked meat, you are fucking slave. You're nothing to do with carnivore. I am fucking imbecile. No, salt is not a rock.
We all know sugar destroys your pancreas, but how destroy your brain?
It also removes your ability to use appropriate English and linking words in your sentences, apparently. What it does is it causes glycation damage to various tissues around your body, including neural tissues.
What is your take on swimming for general health and well-being?
Depends on what else you're doing and all sorts of other things, and how much of it you're doing and at what intensity and how often. In general, as a sort of loose rule of thumb, a little bit of swimming here and there is probably fine and a good thing.
You can come here and swim in our pool.
Yes, or indeed in our lake when we have one. At the moment it's dry, we have a pan.
I don't think I would swim there.
No, well, maybe not. The ducks might though.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Yes, that's the whole idea of it.
That will keep them away from the porch.
Yes, and then they'll stop shitting on it.
Yes.
Mm.
Regarding EASBS, sorry, my question was what is LDL-C blood test exactly?
Right.
I want to know what that number represents of. Is it really cholesterol? How do they differ it from HDL, high from Iran?
Right, so the LDL test is not even a test, it's an estimate of the amount of cholesterol carried by LDL transporters at the time that test was taken. They don't even measure it, it's estimated on the basis of the total cholesterol in the sample and the high density lipoprotein count, which they actually do measure. They put it forward as some marker of cardiovascular risk, and they are wrong. It's not. It's rubbish, it's nonsense. It won't give you any information of utility of any kind. It's vacuous, bought and paid for nonsense. And we're done with it. Many questions today. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
We have
many.
Yes.
Andrew Huberman says, if you do 4 bouts of 30 minutes with a 5-minute break in between 16 times human growth hormone, is it safe?
I wouldn't listen to anything Andrew Huberman has to say on any topic, frankly. I think he's a waste of skin.
He also says that if you do 4 bouts in the sauna for 30 minutes 4 times with a 5-minute break, it's 16 times human growth hormone. Do you think that's safe?
I wouldn't listen to anything that Andrew Huberman has to say on any topic. I think he is an imbecile, a waste of space, a waste of skin, and a waste of perfectly good oxygen. He has nothing to offer society. He's an arrogant prick, basically, who speaks a lot of the time completely outside of his sphere of expertise, and he entertains and invites guests of incredibly poor caliber on his program. So, yeah.
Righty then. Does carnivore low carb destroy addiction, e.g. alcohol?
Destroy is too strong a word. Can it be helpful? Absolutely. However, addictive stuff is out with my experience in terms of expertise. That's Pim's area. What do you think?
No.
There you go.
I don't think it does.
Good.
Can it be easier to manage if you actually want to quit? Yeah, probably. If you reduce brain inflammation by not eating a lot of sugar and other stuff that inflames you or helps with the addictive behaviors, makes you more hungry, etc. But it will not destroy the addiction. If you are addicted, you probably dependent on alcohol, and that's not going away. It will just be easy to manage for some people, not everyone, depending on what the reason is that you got addicted in the first place.
Yes, good.
Please tell how much I pay for an answer to an email, likely 5 minutes read and 10 minutes answer.
I don't offer such services. I offer one-on-one, face-to-face consultancies on Zoom. The minimum time frame that you can book me for is an hour, and the cheapest that you could possibly hope to get that for is $100 US if there are slots available on my consultancy tier at that level at that time.
Good. I've heard Paul Saladino say that pork and chicken are the new seed oils. Thoughts on that? Sounds like nonsense to me.
Paul Salad, I don't know, is an imbecile, an arrogant imbecile, a misguided individual in the extreme, a bloke speaking entirely outside of his areas of expertise, those being general medicine and psychiatry, neither of which he's actually practiced at all, not one single day in his life, just like not a Dr. Gregor. Basically, Paul's credibility is in the toilet, where he placed it himself, and nothing he has to say is of any value to anyone. He should be ignored for all time. The boy gets way too much attention. He's also not only an arrogant imbecile, he's also a coward. He pretends he doesn't know who I am, so that he doesn't have to respond to me. Everybody knows he knows exactly who I am, because we've done several videos together. It kind of destroys your argument a bit there, doesn't it, Paul? You turd. Yep.
What is the current GDP, population and military power of Pimbatia?
Right, well, due to our immense foreign debt to the Bank of New Zealand, our GDP is definitely negative. Also, because we haven't yet actually started to produce any income from the land yet, it's all expense at the stage to get it under control, so it's very, very much minus at this stage. That's why we need help. The population is 2 humans, 2 dogs, 3 goats, 17 sheep, any number of birds of the chicken and duck variety, and 14 Anguses, plus any native wild come and go animals like quail and deer and feral pigs and honorary Pimbatians that will come and visit us and help us. Yes.
I think we have a super chat that didn't pop up there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is spam and hot dogs safe to eat in large amounts?
I wouldn't do that, no. Depending on what you mean by large and how often. I mean, a one-off meal of pretty much most things isn't necessarily going to be a problem by itself, unless it contains cyanide or something like that. In which case you don't need very much of it at all for it to be a problem.
Indeed, really.
Or ricin, that'll do it quite quickly too.
Does cooking and pasteurizing animal products reduce their nutrient content?
Yes, it does slightly, but so what? Does that have an effect on your actual affect? No. How do I know? Because I ate almost nothing really but cooked, well-cooked meat for the best part of a decade, and I didn't fall to bits with nutrient deficiencies. Is your chair? I was going to say throne. Is your throne uncomfortable?
Yes.
We need new throne chairs.
I don't like sitting at all. I like laying down or standing up.
Yes.
All right, what are your thoughts on dumbbells bench press?
Fine. Just not barbell. Because that's not double closed. It's only single closed, which is fine.
They say that endurance cardio exercise increases mitochondrial biogenesis more than any other type of exercise. Is that correct? Is it good or bad? Would cardio be beneficial in that sense?
It very much depends on many of the variables that can control such things. It may or may not be correct depending on what we're talking about, comparing what with what. As a generalized statement, I stand by what I say, and that is that everybody's fitness is specific. All fitness is specific, and this idea that the aerobic fitness, as they call it, is the basis of everything, is both correct and false. The way that it's interpreted and taught is false. I think you should watch my video where I'm responding to imbecile Gary McGowan, the Irish doctor that doesn't know anything about exercise physiology at all. During the week, after I finished editing it, I'll put it up on the channel and you can all learn about exphys that way.
Okay. I would like to join for several months, but would require internet to complete some internet work as well. If this is allowed to use the internet, I would be quite interested.
No, we can't let you use the internet while you're here. Goodness, no. We don't want word getting out of the abuse and neglect we'll be exposing our guests to. Yes, of course you can use the internet while you're here.
Yes, send an email.
Yes, send us an email and then we'll have a meeting with you on Zoom, and Ted will decide whether or not you're a good prospect to come and visit us. We'll ask you all sorts of tricky questions like, are you a carnivore? Do you have a criminal record of any kind? Are you able to work physically for X number of hours a week, do you think? Do you have any specific skills? Are you an axe murderer? We don't want any of those. And have you subjected yourself to any experimental medical interventions that were both unsafe and ineffective at any time in the recent past, in which case we won't have you here?
Is that so?
Yep, absolutely.
Why is your mum coming for a visit then?
Well, because she's got special status. I told her not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it hasn't been recent that occurred. It was.
I don't think anyone's done that recently.
Some people still are, to this day, lining up for this nonsense.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the nearest international airport to Pimbatia?
The nearest international airport from here is Wellington.
Is
which is
Christchurch not closer?
No, Christchurch is not closer, not
No.
remotely closer. Christchurch is on the same island, but it's much further away than is Wellington, which is on the other island. But if you land in Wellington from an international flight, you can then get a 35-minute flight to Nelson, which is the nearest city to us, and that's where we'll pick you up from, in the official Pimbatia limo.
Yes.
Yes. And that's about an hour's drive from where we live, or less. You could also land in Auckland or Christchurch and get a joining flight to Nelson from either of those airports too.
Right. Can you explain why you think seed oils are bad for humans?
I don't think it, I know it. Okay, the reasons are pro-inflammatory on two separate pro-inflammatory pathways, and they are subject and very, very vulnerable to oxidative damage, thus leading to deranged molecules that fuck things up good. What's next?
Morning, Harry.
Ah! King Harry Louse of Tasmania. Good to have you here, sir. How are things in Tasmania this morning? It must be 9:16 a.m. on a Sunday morning in Tasmania, so we won't accuse Harry of shitting the bed today.
No. I just want to comment on this. Still need willpower to overcome the addiction.
Yes, that's right.
No fucking willpower. You reprogram your brain, you reprogram your neural pathways in the brain so you don't have to use willpower, because willpower will always fucking fail.
Interesting. Okay. I would have thought that kind of thing was an example of using your willpower. But okay, fine.
No.
I accept what you're saying. You're the expert.
It fucks me off when people say that you just need more willpower. It's not about willpower, because you will run out of willpower and you can't keep that up. That's why so many addicts fail over time, because they think they need to use willpower.
Okay, so it's about one's interpretation of the meaning of words. Cool.
Not really.
If you say so.
When you reprogram your brain, when you create new pathways, you don't even have to think about it. It just happens. Okay. Found out that my liver enzymes is 80. Should I stick with carnivore?
Which enzymes are you referring to? The liver produces many enzymes.
Yes. Next
And
up.
yes, you should stick with carnivore, irrespective of what your liver enzymes are. Right.
Getting sunlight is not an option. What to do about low vitamin D? I live in Ohio. The sun's on vacation. Lol.
Well, get a supplement that's not produced or presented to you in an oil base.
Well, the problem with that, if you have a supplement that is not in a fat, the absorption rate is very, very low.
Well, liposomal might be an option.
That's why I asked about that.
Yes, and it might be an option.
Okay. Does the silver-bodied rigid bastard in the background help in the farm?
No, he doesn't lift a finger.
Oh.
Neither does this furry little cunt here. Not a. It's speaking of furry little cunts that don't help. There's another one down there, and there's another one somewhere else as well. Hopeless. I went and moved 130 bays of hail the other day. Hail? Bays of hail? Bales of hay, for fuck's sake. Hay bales. I went and moved 130 of those.
Bay hails.
Fucking Fluffy the dog sat on the passenger seat of the ute and just snored her way through the whole fucking procedure. She didn't help a bit. Incredible.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I know.
Dr. K, what about minerals and their importance? Baja Gold claims to have over 50 minerals. I also use LMNT electrolytes. Thoughts on minerals? Thank you for your tenacity.
Minerals are only useful in the case where you, individually, in the circumstances that you place your genes, are in effect actually short of those minerals, and those minerals are presented to you in a form that you can absorb. Otherwise, it's expensive that you'll be getting.
Why is ketosis not good?
Who said ketosis is not good? I never said that.
Right? Could you explain which mechanism make consuming seed oils so very bad, please?
Yes, I've done that 2 or 3 times already in this very live stream. What's next?
If you can't tolerate butter, is extra virgin olive oil fine?
Why would you not tolerate butter? Do you have an allergy to butter in some way? And if so, what's the allergy to exactly? What component of the butter is the problem? I wouldn't go with extra virgin olive oil myself. First of all, because I don't trust for 3 seconds that people selling me extra virgin olive oil really are. Actually, because most olive oil is counterfeit, not olive oil, let alone extra virgin. And even if it was extra virgin olive oil, that's 14 to 16% polyunsaturates, which is a bad idea.
Right, so question, not a question. I believe that donating plasma is about the health benefits of donating it. It's a trend at the moment on YouTube to donate plasma stimulates stem cells and T cells, etc., and some other shit.
That sounds like a load of bollocks to me. DC, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that in our next chat. It may well be that there's some stimulation of stem cells.
Okay, do you follow any philosophies such as Stoicism or Buddhism or something like that?
I follow the teachings of the Grand Master, His Royal Highness Ted Edward Yellow of Pimbatia. He gives the orders, and we are merely his servants. We follow. We do as we're told.
Good.
Oh, that and God. God Almighty.
Have you read the book Why Vegans Have Smaller Brains?
No. That was an easy question.
Yes. Are there more professors, people that you recommend to follow?
Yes, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, I would suggest, is a very, very good source of information. Dr. Sarah Pugh is a very good person to listen to. King Harry Louse of Tasmania is well worth it if you can spare the day. Hey, Harry. Who else do we like? Many people.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Got super chat 10 minutes ago that I didn't see.
That's rude.
Yes, let's do that.
And a whole bunch of other people. Sorry if I forgot you. It's hard to call out names when someone asks you for them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the super chat. Is a cholesterol test just an outdated proxy for heart disease, i.e., it is there at the scene of the crime but not the cause? What would be a good heart health test?
Okay, the cholesterol test is not just outdated. It was never correct. There was never any veracity to the claim that cholesterol plays any causal role in heart disease whatever, and that remains true to this day. Yes, cholesterol is at the scene of the crime, and no, it is not the cause. What would be a good heart health test depends on what aspect of heart health we're talking about. If it's a exercise stress test, that might be a useful way of looking at various things, including conductance, pathway issues, etc., capacity. The VO2 max test can be handy depending on a person's needs and situation. If you're looking for pathologies like recent myocardial infarction, you might look at the creatinine test as a means of gauging and getting at that. And combined, obviously, that with some conductance testing as well, ECG, whatever. EKG it's called in some countries. In short, it really depends on what you're testing as to how you should test that. In terms of blood markers, none of them that currently exist are of any value whatsoever. Except possibly CRP, if you had other corroborative stuff as well. Yeah.
Let's see. Opinions on copper. It seems required in important metabolic processes, but it is also a toxin to avoid in organs.
Like everything else, it has an optimal level in the body. Too little is a problem and too much is a problem. Thank you. What's next?
Opinions... What? Fuck's sake. Go away. Why do you think Saldino spends his days surfing all day in Costa Rica?
Because he can. And he enjoys it.
Yes.
And too many people are paying him to do that. Too many people who give him their valuable time and attention when they should give it to actually competent individuals such as myself who will give you good advice rather than tell you to pour carbohydrates down your stupid fucking neck.
Maybe we should do that instead. We just sell all of this and go and surf in Costa Rica.
Yes.
That's an easier life.
There's, look, everybody, radical change of plans here. Radical. We're all going to go and live in Costa Rica and surf and tell you to pour carbohydrates and fruit down your stupid fucking necks. That's what's going to happen next.
Right. Would you go so far to say that all carbs above 0 causes glycation? Is heavy cream, yogurt, and even milk okay?
No, I would not go so far as to say that. No.
As a 2.5-year carnivore with some long-term knee injuries, author says I am at a late-stage arthritis diagnosed from X-rays. Would Rules Stem Enhance Ultra be able to help repair?
It does have that capacity. Yes, there is a possibility that it will be of help. Yes, but we're not allowed to say it will be or promise that. Those are the rules. I don't make the rules in Cerule. Cerule's rules. They make them. Well, they do.
Okay, let's do this quickly now.
The FDA.
Because we have 5 minutes left and 10 questions lined up.
Right, good.
I am reacted to added salt on my meat and still have hard times digesting too much fat. What if I only eat fatty meat alone without adding salt or extra fat for a while?
Try it and see what happens.
Yes. I like that answer.
All right.
Quick. Given the controversy with Lame Norton misrepresenting Dr. Shafee's credentials, what are your thoughts on past claims regarding your own credentials? Have these people admitted their mistake?
First of all, it's not controversial. Dr. Chafee's credentials are above reproach, as are mine. No, I've never received an apology from people who have falsely claimed that I don't have the credentials that I claim.
Good. Do you believe the field of psychology is similarly crackpottery as nutrition?
Depends on who you talk to, which psychiatrists, psychologists that you speak to.
There are many paths of psychology.
Yes.
Are non-carnivores allowed in Pimbatia? Isn't that dietists?
They are allowed, but they won't be able to probably gain much nutrition while they're here because we are going to be offering a carnivore diet largely.
Well, we do have some vegetables down in the garden and such, but it's heavily meat-based.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be pure carnivore. We use spices and stuff like that as well. But if you are any type of vegetarian, we are not going to go and shop vegetables.
I thought we were
for
doing
you.
things quickly.
Yes, I'm just clarifying
Right.
because we don't want to scare people away. We do not require you to be 100% carnivore.
Or anything else.
Or
except
that.
Except to be a pure blood. That we do require.
Do you think that the modern diet is the cause of these problems? Crooked teeth, bad eyesight, poor skeletal development?
Yes, I do.
Are you familiar with paleoanthropologist Mickey Bendor? Would you consider doing an interview with him?
Yes to both questions.
Scientific books worth reading?
No.
None.
No.
Pim.
I don't recommend books.
Pim, how do you reprogram your brain to quit coffee? Well, usually I take 6 months to do that with my clients, and you need to keep working on it, but...
So willpower then.
There's a fucking hawk outside the window. Leave my ducklings alone, you fucker. Hope it hasn't eaten one. They're quacking here.
Quack.
Yes, you need to practice a certain behavior, but it's a lot more involved in that. So I can't explain that quickly at all. Can you please elaborate on FH kids dying from atherosclerosis? What is the mechanism?
Yes. That's very straightforward. At the end of the day, the problem with those that have a particular double knockout, which are really around about 1 in a million propensity, is that they are unable to absorb any cholesterol at all. Thus meaning they are unable to deliver cholesterol to the cells, thus meaning the cells are unable to repair themselves, thus meaning rampant atherosclerosis. It's because of a shortage of cholesterol delivered to the cells, not because there's too much in the blood.
It seems there's a study that showed fat loss in one leg more than the other by training only that leg, which would suggest that spot fat reduction is possible. Any thoughts?
There are all sorts of studies saying all sorts of things. At the end of the day, as a generalised rule, adiposity tends to be laid down and removed according to a genetic programming more than it's a regional spot things. That'd be an interesting study to read though, just to see what may or may not be right or wrong with it. Hey Shelley Belly, haven't seen you forever. Where have you been, young lady?
Where's Shelley Billy?
Shell's in the chat.
Can't see.
You just scroll past her.
Okay.
You
Next
ignored her
question
and
then.
scroll past her.
Can repeated needle pricks to draw blood cause damage to the endothelium and lead to atherosclerosis?
Depends on how many needle pricks. That is unlikely.
Okay, so I think we are out of time.
There's Shelley Belly
Yes.
saying, Bruce, oh my God, good to see
Yes.
you.
Hi, Shell. How are you doing?
How you doing?
Okay.
Yes, good. So that was it then, was it? No more questions. Very good, and it's 11:30, so that's close-off time, which means all that's left to do is to sing the national anthem of Pimbatia, of course, which goes a little bit something like this. Steak and eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast. Delicious. Eggs and steak and eggs. Just making sure you heard. I think they got it, Ted. See you next time.